Okay, I'd like to call this ZAC meeting to order and go around and do a roll call. Doug Brown,
Tom Hoops,
Nick Bonifane.
Jessica Call.
Dick Shea, alternate. Okay, so the agenda, are there any changes since literally hot off the press?
Changes to the agenda.
Okay,
I make a motion, we accept the November 2024 agenda.
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on then. Any new business?
No new business?
No new business. All right, well, then let's tackle the old business in terms of the changes or comments that have been made to the zoning amendments that we looked at last meeting. Jessica, do you want to kind of get a synopsis with the attorney and any feedback that he gave you?
Well, I think we should probably go over, actually go over his comments.
Okay.
And then you guys can discuss and we can kind of work on them as we move forward.
So we'll just take them each amendment and talk about his comments.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So any thoughts with respect to amendment number 1?
I would suggest adding his comment, for the cupola, also for decoration.
So how would we word this? Serve as a roof lantern to admit light and air, or as an observation
Post or
post, or
as simple,
pure for aesthetic purposes?
exactly. I mean, I see his point,
Observation post.
because some people want it from the visual point of view of outside rather than inside.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I would do is, right after, light and air, I'd put let me say, put a comma, cross out or as an observation post or for aesthetic purposes. So it flows a little better.
So
You need purposes or just say or for the set or for
Or for
aesthetics?
aesthetics,
for aesthetics.
that's fine.
Yep,
So
just
the-
keep it simple.
The
Yep.
new one would read a small ornamental structure not to exceed 50 square feet adorning a roof or dome used to serve as a roof lantern to admit light and air as an observation post or for aesthetics.
Yep.
Sounds fine.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I have a 12 by 40 cupola.
Okay, and then density,
This has been giving us a problem for a while on how to define this. That's
Mhm.
the,
but literally, Jessica, you're saying
It's
that the
state.
degree of
I-
compactness of an area comes out of the state?
Yeah, yeah, that was the state's definition.
I'd leave it
I
then.
would, yeah, I don't know if we can really. If
But
it's the
then-
state.
As far as the second line or statement, can we just say that the dwelling / occupation per unit of area? To address it, the attorney's.
Intensity of.
Wait a minute, Doug, if you put that, you would replace value?
Value with dwelling / what's he got there? Occupation, is it?
So it would be the dwelling or, where is it? Dwelling or occupation in a given area.
Right.
I think originally we had the quantity
I think we did.
per unit area.
The
It
dwelling,
was, that's correct. Yep.
The
dwelling
dwelling
/ occupation.
of compactness of an area. Is that what you're talking about?
That it
No.
would be
In
the
a,
dwelling.
in a given area.
occupation In a given area?
Yeah, I think in a given area.
So it would
Is-
just simply be the dwelling occupation in a given area.
Yep.
And are we deleting the second sentence?
Changing it, correct.
Okay. Confirm.
Okay, and then in kind,
let's
you mentioned something about being in section 320F, that's already defined?
see, that was the one.
Well, his comment,
It does, so it's,
if it is difficult to enforce, then it needs to be changed.
so the one that he's referring to
It's SW3 though, right?
is, it states in-kind replacement means keeping the same square footage of building area while allowing the building footprint to be realigned so long as the new structure complies with all setback requirements. That's in F out of the section 320. So it already gives a definition.
So can we just substitute that in for the language that's there?
We could,
So scrap what's written here
Yep.
altogether and just put that definition she just
Yeah.
read.
right.
Okay. Can
And
you
then
read it
that,
again for me?
yep. In-kind replacement means keeping the same square footage of building area while allowing the building footprint to be realigned so long as the new structure complies with all setback requirements.
That makes sense.
All right.
It's better to have just one definition.
Uniformity.
Yep.
Two definitions, they're gonna pick the one that one.
And I agree with the attorney to just take out junk.
Take it out.
Okay,
We worked on the junkyard definitions in this last
yeah,
go around.
I mean, it has bothered me for a long time because I saved the iron from old
I
buggies,
remember.
blades,
How do
things
we-
like that.
How do you
Kim-
say junk to one person?
And I mean, it's a treasure for some blacksmith because it's all malleable steel.
Doug, can we just go over that definition, the fence legal, I'm just gonna read it into the record with the additions in blue
Yep,
from the
okay.
attorney.
right.
So, it would read, fence legal, a physical divider of such height as to be reasonably adequate for their purpose and in good repair, consisting of natural, synthetic, or live materials typically used in fence construction. Not to exceed 6 feet in the rear or side boundary lines, nor 4 feet in the front boundary line, with the exception that the first 10 feet of the fence on the side property lines measured along the ground from the front boundary line shall not exceed 4 feet in height without a building permit. I think that clarifies it a lot
Very, yeah,
more. I
measure
like,
along the
yeah.
ground from the front.
right.
boundary.
Yeah, that's fine by me.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Yep. So that addresses amendment number 1 then?
Yep. So at this point, you can either
Take a motion?
you could take a motion, you could do them all together, you can do them individually, however you'd like to choose to do that.
Just do one at the end, make it easy.
Hmm.
Okay,
Might have to do separate ones at the end. We don't know what's gonna happen yet.
Right.
Right.
That may change.
okay.
There were no additions to amendment number 2.
2,
So his other comments had to do with
Well,
so,
he made one change on page 7. He did make on one page prior to that one. He could make one change in blue, right? That was him.
what amendment?
And that was amendment. I'm sorry. Yes, I think you're right. Amendment number.
Are we skipping 3?
Oh, I went too far.
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. I was looking for the blue.
Okay. So in conversations back and forth with town council, and with Tara, town council would rather see all of section 320, the non-conforming, sort of as one amendment.
I fully agree too. I mean,
Um,
it's, otherwise these ifs, ands, or buts become a little
It does,
crazed and,
I know, the way Tara separated things out, it was because those amendments were pretty rather substantive information
Right.
that she didn't want to see get lost if the entire thing got voted down. So that's kind of why she separated it out, just so that you kind of know why.
But so is there any language that was proposed to combine them into one?
So,
Yeah.
so after this meeting, if you guys decide either, you would like to have that included in one amendment to give to the planning board, or you can leave it as is and decide, have the planning board decide if they want it in one amendment. We can clean it up now. Or you can clean it up
Well,
later
guess
or
what's
leave
the
it.
sentiment around the table then, in that context?
We are most of the planning board. Yeah, what does it take?
She's just gonna make it one amendment. It's
But I mean,
already,
It still holds
Yeah.
all of the information.
right.
but-
I mean, it's already written. She just, she'll have to just squish it all
Right.
together.
For example, on Amendment 3, it's the rationale that I was looking at. This amendment is being proposed in order to require a variance from the zoning board of adjustment. So that
Yep,
as long as that concept is included,
right.
that's fine. So I mean, as long as that's not being gotten rid of,
Yep, yeah. The
I have no
concepts,
problem with it.
yeah, the concepts will stay the same. It'll just be, I guess, easier for the public to read instead of.
Because that's the problem.
It's
for
not
me.
going to be easy. Public to do.
Because the way this is structured, I mean, it says if Amendment 3 does not pass, removing expansion of footprint, that paragraph would read as follows. There's
Yeah.
going to be all these, the people are just going to have a hard time following that, just as they go into vote. So I'm not certain I understand all the.
Yep.
Rule. But I'd rather see that we have language redrafted into one amendment that's more clean and concise.
We could do exactly what you said, right? And we can have Tara try to combine it into one, and then when we bring it to the planning board, are we allowed at that time to be like, hey, do we go this way or do we go this
Yeah,
way?
why not? Because we can certainly.
I would.
Clean it up
instead of-
first?
Yeah, clean it up first. That would be my sense.
But I mean, and we can point out to the planning board that
Clean it up first?
I think.
So you could go work it with Tara. Does it need to go back to legal counsel again at that?
No,
No?
no,
Okay.
because that's his suggestion is to add it,
Just to
have
combine it?
them, yeah.
Would it make sense to describe the story to the planning board so that they understand that there was a complication with the way we had designed it? And-
Well,
they
I wouldn't
haven't
go
even
there.
seen it
Yeah, I was gonna say, I wouldn't even
Seen
go
it
there.
yet, So I agree. They're right, just
Keep it
keep
simple.
it simple.
Yeah, because it's up to the committee to present, what you deem fit for the planning board, so.
So that would be a revision to essentially to combine 3 and 4 into language.
Five.
And 5?
Five be added as,
This-
5 is also non-conforming and
Well,
technically,
they're saying, and maybe,
and technically 6. So 3, 4, 5, and 6. Yeah. Because that's all has to do with
Because the only, my thought was
section 320.
Amendment 5 is pretty clean as a standalone, isn't it?
it's cleaning up a lot of stuff.
It is.
If all 4 of them can be done into one amendment, that's fine, so be it.
When you said amendment, so that's the non-conforming lots.
Okay, so
Not variance, it's zoning board of adjustment.
Yep.
Here. Yep, you're right. Non-conforming lots, a single family residence, it's the exact same thing. It is the exact same thing. It's literally the same thing.
Well, I think she was trying to build in some safety of getting things passed.
Yeah,
and is Tara aware of the sentiment to combine these?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. I've been
Lisa.
talking with her the last couple of days and the attorney. So
Okay.
all three of us. And
All right.
She
Yeah.
on board with combining everything in one.
he's, gets his point, it's a little cleaner and everything just stays
It
together.
really is.
Yeah, she's willing to change
You're right.
it.
Yeah, legal's telling us and Tara's telling us, I guess.
Okay. So we're in all accord in combining 3, 4, 5, and 6?
Yep.
So what does that new number make it now? That makes it all
So
three,
Three.
just three.
Just one other point, in the diagrams that were, put in here as far as the it should read building area, not building.
Yeah,
envelope.
but we're gonna figure out how to fix that.
Oh, is that was, okay,
I'm not
all right.
quite-
As long-
I think I've pointed
Well,
that
the
out.
building
several
envelopes
times.
are used for years
Okay.
in the job. Put that in.
Yep. So I will get some
So
assistance.
it was just an IT issue again. Okay, all right.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Remember when you brought that sketch in?
Okay, then that takes us to
So-
amendment number 7.
Yeah, so, so I would make a motion, stating that amendments 3, 4, 5, and 6 will be combined into one amendment.
So we're going to do that at the end.
Label this.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So we have 3 amendments at
So
this
it's
point,
two.
right?
Yeah, so then 7 becomes 4.
Right.
So, yeah, for 7 becomes 4.
So the attorney's asking about some standards, and so the point of separating out this section 349 pre-site built housing was to just get it away from the manufactured home information, the home park.
Yeah.
So it really wasn't any substantial changes with the language. It was just trying to get it on its own.
There was a question about should there be performance standards for new
Right.
pre-site housing?
Right. And I suppose that is the question.
But I mean, those standards must be similar to on-site standards for, in all areas though, right?
Pre-site, the way that it's described, right, that would have to be, like, those houses are pretty much designed to be 50 state, right?
Well, pre-site, it can also be a mobile home, can it?
No.
No, pre-site is in pieces.
Oh, okay.
To you put it together.
Oh, that's a whole different.
Right. He
But
was
my,
kind
my
of,
point was that, any house that's erected on site as a conventional stick-built house, those performance standards are already defined, right?
I would think so.
And most of them exceed the,
Yeah, because they have to conform to,
Oh.
So
They're-
why wouldn't we just say that any pre-site housing has to be the same as what any stick-built on site has to be? It's performance standard.
but there again, you have to distinguish between, because, I mean,
Right.
at this point, I get confused as to what is a mobile home, because the terminology keeps changing.
I would just suggest to just leave it as is, separate it out. And then I think this year we maybe work on, coming up with some other language on that. Because tonight we'd have to come up with language to give to the planning.
So
board.
it just doesn't default back to the same as what it would be for on-site stick-built houses?
I don't know. I don't know.
All right,
Like,
okay.
I don't have that. No, I'm not
Yep.
privy to that information.
Well, isn't pre-site housing simply a conventional structure that is manufactured off-site in a factory and then placed on site? Has to meet all the same codes.
So it would be the same as for any house that's just built stick frame on the property, as I would say it.
Yeah, I would think.
some cases it may be better.
In many cases, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
They have to take the strictest state in their guidelines and then they have to go by that.
Build them
Yeah,
everywhere.
So by default, for me, any performance standard that exists for traditional housing would be the same for pre-site housing. But you're saying we'd have to run this all through the gauntlet again? then?
Yeah, I'm just not sure of the language.
So we
I
leave it
like to
as
quote
is?
things appropriately, and I don't have that
Yep.
knowledge in front of me.
So who put the question? Was that the attorney who put that?
Yes, yeah. I think he's wanting to see some type of these performance standards like you have down further with the manufactured home park, is the manufactured home park performance standards. I think that's what he's
I mean,
looking for up here.
Yeah, I mean,
But
by
that's
default, it
not
should
that
be
sort of-
the same as what the building codes are
Yeah.
for. Yeah. Yeah,
So what's the correct way to do this? To leave it as is and then tackle it next year as
Change.
trying to define it better?
Yeah, we can, that can be the first thing on the list for next year to be able to come up with some performance standards.
We have.
I don't know. I don't know if the building department has, I'm sure they have, I'm sure there's something. I just don't know what it is.
That's
That's
the
not my
building
department.
codes is what I
Yeah,
would.
building.
The whole building code, yeah, is one giant performance standard, really.
Yeah.
By
I don't see
default,
why it wouldn't.
Exactly, by default,
Yeah.
Because how, you're putting the pieces together. I mean, they're doing it in a factory and you're trying to put it together. So there's got to be a margin for error somewhere, right?
But I mean, most of them are,
you don't think that happens with
design.
conventional houses that are? Oh,
Space. This piece and this piece. Two main pieces
yeah,
is different than.
Framing a wall.
Yeah, well, you can have them, I mean, having been involved in construction, I don't even want to think about all of the on-site adjustments we had to make because I remember a whole factory that was off by 4 inches and we went crazy. It-
Instead of wing on the end. Or it's supposed to be.
no way. No way.
Oh, yeah.
I
Air,
would-
aviation
I would-
shims are a huge business.
Space. There's those, they had to be within millimeters on those things. When the wing goes onto the fuselage, that's bullshit. No,
Well, I think what we're saying is this, this standard should exactly match conventional stick-built home standards but it's too late to make any adjustments now, so don't rock the boat for this round and we'll fix it next year.
yeah, exactly.
Tweak it.
Yep. Already making a list for next year.
Okay, so.
You just can't wait, can you?
Never ends. It never ends, just to say.
forget. You don't make it.
So that means that we're gonna strike all of section 350 or
No, I think we just leave it.
we just
So
take
that
out,
way we can separate it.
so
Yeah.
take out pre-site and just address the homes and,
No, just leave it as it is
Yep.
and.
oh, okay. I got you. All right.
Establishes a new section.
All right, I got you. Any other points on amendment 7, or which is now 4?
It does not look like there was anything else.
Other points on that then? We're all good?
Yep.
Then amendment 5,
It's 9,
Which is 8.
8. There you go.
There were no comments on that one.
I guess I just had a question about the amendment. It's the opening language. It says residential rural zone by adding language that states that only one residential use may be permitted on a lot to be consistent with the other zones. But that does mean that it can add an accessory dwelling unit to that lot, right? Still,
Where are you reading? I'm sorry.
just the proposed amendment number 5, the opening sentence.
No, an ADU can be added to anything except in the service zone.
That I just,
Former number 8, is that what we talking?
correct. Yep,
That first sentence?
right.
So
I'm
that,
just asking a question. When it says that only one residential units may be permitted on a lot to be consistent with the other zones, that still means that an accessory dwelling unit can be added.
correct,
Mm.
yes.
And the accessory dwelling unit can be completely self-sufficient from the home itself.
Right.
In certain zones.
But right
Yeah,
now,
except in the
right-
Lakeshore Residential.
so right now, as it stands, without this amendment, they're allowed to put two completely different houses.
But you could put more than two because it doesn't restrict it.
Gotcha.
Oh, is that right? Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Right, so you're creating, potential, groups of multiple houses and roads that are not overseen by the planning board.
Okay.
Not good.
Any other points on what's now Amendment 5? Finally, Amendment now number 9 becoming the 6.
I'll go ahead and read the sections that the town attorney put some comments in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's just go through those.
All right, so this is section 535, conditions. It's a entirely new section. In authorizing a variance or special exception, the zoning board of adjustment may attach such conditions and safeguards as it deems necessary to ensure that substantial justice is done and the spirit of the ordinance is observed due to the nature of the site or certain characteristics of the use, including but not limited to. I like that language better because that pulls language directly from the criteria items that they're reviewing. Am I correct, Mark? Does that language look familiar?
Yeah.
When you guys are, yeah, so that I like a lot better.
Substantial justice?
Yes,
Boy,
that's
that's
one of the
wide open.
criteria item, whether substantial justice is done. Yes.
It's still pretty arbitrary in my
Boy,
mind.
I guess.
But there are 5 different things that they have to agree on.
Right. Yep. The next change was in K. Specifying standards for operation so that it will be no more objectionable to the neighborhood by reasons of noise, odors, vibration, traffic, lighting, glare, or hours of operation than will be the operation of a use permitted by right at the site. The other change was in N, requiring that any future enlargement or alteration of use be accomplished only with the approval of the zoning board of adjustment unless allowed by right.
I think those are good additions. The real problem comes up when you have on the boundaries of 2 zones. And you have the rural zone butts up against the Lakeshore Residential. And in some cases, if you're trying to run a wood plant in the rural, right next door to the Lakeshore Residential, that's not cool, or a gravel pit. Because the gravel pit would be allowed in the rural zone. But right next door to the, so I think,
But how do you differentiate like a buffer for that?
well, the buffer has to be whether or not it has an impact on the other zone. And that's putting the weight on the ZBA. But I mean, they could see that when an application comes in, that where the adjustment, because we had a case.
So but we're still allowed to, at that point, we would still be allowed to, I don't want to say reject, 'cause that's probably the wrong word. But if somebody wanted to put, say, a wood plant
Yeah.
right next door to Lakeshore Residential, to somebody's, Lakeshore home. If it does, obviously the noise would be insane. If it is deemed that it would be harmful to them, then it could be
Right.
rejected, correct?
Exactly.
That's the
I
way
mean,
it's written.
that was what happened actually on the Chestnut Cove Road. What became a subdivision, the nightmare one with all the roads, trying to forget the name of it. But originally there was an application for a gravel pit. And the ZBA turned it down because on the other side of the road was Lakeshore Residential, and there would have been a conflict of use. So,
Yeah,
um,
I think, Mark, you had brought up a very good point, or like earlier on when we first started doing this about the Lakeshore residential zone. So I think, yeah, I think there should be, you should be able to know, you know what I mean? You're not gonna put in a gravel pit next to somebody's Lakeshore homes.
by roads. I mean, a road is unifying. But that was years ago when all that was done, but that puts a load on the ZBA, but I mean, it's an important safety valve.
Somebody has to, because it's, you know, Lakeshore residential, it makes up quite a bit of the tax bracket.
It's not what you think, you know, what the tax difference is on the lake versus inland.
Yep.
You have to do some things to protect them. Yeah,
Absolutely.
It certainly doesn't help it.
Just. Says. Justice, substantial justice, this, he says it perfectly, it's something on the lines of, as long as the impact on the public is less than the impact. Person,
Right.
of the applicant. It's substantial justice will be done, or something like that, and I forget how he says it, but.
Yeah, he
it's
does.
very vague, he says it.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Really? So there is a criteria that,
Yeah.
yeah? Sounds like,
Mr. Chair, I have two other comments.
yeah, go ahead.
So one comment is from Tara, and go to old amendment 4, which is now 3. It's on page 9. It's some of the comments from the town attorney.
Yeah,
So it's regarding section F, the non-conforming lots.
right.
So Tara and I discussed it earlier. We came up with some other language. And it would read, a single-family residence may be erected on any legally existing non-conforming lot, provided all necessary state and local permits are obtained, and the lot has approved access. So instead of this other language, access to a town-owned road, just change it to,
Approved.
and the lot has approved access.
Everyone comfortable with that?
yeah, because the only approved access is a town road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, yep. So that was that, and then in old amendment 7, which is now new 4, on page 12. At the top of the page in number 9, Norma had suggested to also add the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services, because they too have stake in the game when it comes to manufactured home parks.
So she squeezed it in there somewhere.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna add that at the end of number 9. And the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services.
I'm sorry, where are you at again?
So we're on
Page-
page 12,
12.
Yep.
Yep,
page 12, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, number 9, just right at the very end of that. I'm gonna
okay,
just add NHD,
Yep.
spell it out.
all right,
And that's all I have.
okay. Any other points to discuss before we have someone make a motion? Want to tackle it?
All right. I make a motion that we accept the proposed amendments 1 through, you're only gonna have 6, correct?
6.
1
correct.
through 6 to be brought to the planning board as what's the word I'm looking for?
You could add as amended.
As amended by the,
Discussion.
as amended by the discussion for the zoning amendment committee. Does that make
That
sense?
gives you some.
Yeah.
You want to might add the date for this meeting, maybe, so.
On Wednesday, November 6th, 20.
Anyone second that?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
All right, I will get this to Tara tomorrow.
I will say that it was, and this was, I had told you gentlemen and Jessica before, this was probably one of my favorite committees because I learned a lot from it. One thing that was brought to my attention, again, Mark had made some very good comments early on, is that, going forward, I really think we should protect the Lakeshore residential zone as much as we possibly can. I really think going forward for next year, I think we should try to spell it out a little better for them.
That was one of the reasons why the AUDs in the Lakeshore residential have to be attached. Because we didn't want to see a lot of apartments over garages that were rented out as rentals. If you want to have an ADU in the Lakeshore residential, that's your family.
This committee is probably, I learned the most from this committee that I have out of all the other ones.
Well,
Really?
as I was,
I really did, you
I
guys.
mentioned earlier, that one of the things about this is you get the different points of view of different approaches to something. You're looking at it from the ZBA and you have a whole different attitude that I understand. And then you understand, you talk about it and we all begin to understand. And it's that interrelationship that becomes a working form that is important. And I told you when I asked you to serve on this committee, this was the most important
Important committee. Yes, you did. Mr. Shea, do you have any public input?
No, I don't think. I think we got a decent approach going forward. I like the idea of combining the amendments, not only because it just makes things simpler, but an individual that's looking to comply with all of them won't have to go back and forth and try and figure out what's what. And I think the public voting on it will be more comfortable with fewer amendments, even if it is 20 miles long.
It's going to be a rather long amendment, I suspect.
Luckily, that doesn't show up at the ballot.
No, I guess I won't. Right?
The information's available.
Spare me the details. Just give me the cliff notes, right? Okay, any other points for discussion?
I just wanted to share that I have my first Board of Land Surveyors meeting tomorrow morning at 9.
You
in
do?
Concord.
Okay.
excitement.
Whoa, you're moving up into the high power realm of the world, huh? Good. And okay, and then the next meeting is planning board on the 19th.
Mhm.
Public hearing on the 17th with the snow date option of the 18th.
Yep.
Okay. Motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, a little bit. Let you guys get home and relax.
Bedtime.
Uh,